Hello, I'm Dr. Mohua Bhattacharjee. Today we will be doing economic rent in the context of the transfer earning. As I was discussing that economic rent is nothing but it is a surplus earning over the surplus earning over the cost of over the transfer earning. So that is what. And modern economists also said that economic rent is surplus over the cost of production. So these are the two ways in which the modern economists connected the terminology rent. So now right now we are trying to focus on the discussion of economic rent. So now when we talk about economic rent, as I was telling, it is the present earning minus the transfer earning, and whatever is left back, it is called the economic rent. Now if we take up a simple example, if we consider that the supply to be perfectly inelastic of the resources, then we find that this is our demand curve and this is an SS dash. If we consider SS dash is the inelastic supply curve. This is your inelastic supply curve and DD is your demand curve, and it is intersecting, and so we can consider this is your entire income, which is your transfer earning. And in the perfectly elastic curve also we have shown it, and now it is perfectly inelastic curve. Whatever is the income, it is your transfer earning, and that is only your economic rent. There is no transfer earning, and so it is an economic rent which is only possible in land, because land has got no other alternative use other than producing corn, and or it will be left idle and nobody prefers to keep it idle. So that's why it is considered that the whatever is been left back is totally an economic rent. But just the opposite, this is something very exceptional case. We are using this model which is generally utilized, and it is your demand supply intersection at the point T, and OS dash is your equilibrium quantity of the factor utilization. Now the question is this: at this point of time, these are the, with the utilization of this much of resources, this is the total earning which we are getting. This is, suppose if it is L and this is your Q, then LQ is the total revenue which has been generated with the utilization of the OL factor. So now in this QL revenue, this is the transfer earning, or it is the next best alternative earning of a factor OL. So when we subtract from QL, this, suppose it is NL, this section, when this part is subtracted from the total revenue, the thing which is left back is the QM, and this is the economic rent section. So this way, when similarly if we go on with the L1, L2, S, this all section of the resources been utilized, and this the entire, and this is the intersection, and this is the revenue section. So from the revenue, when we subtract the transfer earning, whatever is left back is called the economic rent. So that's why in this diagram we can see that the demand and the supply curve intersected at the point T with the equilibrium rent determined at OR, and at this end equilibrium employment to be OS, and in this we find that OATS is the transfer earning, and from the total revenue earned ORTS minus OATS, that is total earning minus transfer earning, we get the economic rent, as we have already stated. So that's why ORTS is your total revenue which is generated by the use of the labor, by the utilization of the labor OS, and the transfer earning, or the next best alternative earning from the same resources is OATS. So from ORTS minus OATS, we are left with RAT, which is the economic rent, and which explain it is a surplus over the transfer earning, and that is only the economic rent by economics, by the modern economists in a broader sense. So in this way, the concept of economic rent is pushed by modern economists towards a broader area, from a simple land utilization model to all the factors of it, factors of production. That is, you can plot in the x-axis any resources we are using, and the y-axis you can plot out any income which has been earned by this particular resources. So that's why the model has become much more broader, much more generalized, much more applicable. The concept of rent did not remain only restricted towards the land by the modern economist. And it is in the case of perfectly inelastic, the simple demand curve is determining the economic rent, and this entire, because the land has got no other alternative use, so the entire earning is only the economic rent. Because when there is an alternative use, then only the question of transfer earning, then only subtracting it from the present earning, and then only economic rent. So whatever is earning here, the entirely is economic rent. So that's why we get two models with a perfectly elastic and relatively elastic curve. Perfectly inelastic and relatively elastic curve, that the equilibrium and with the changes how the rent is, economic rent is determined. So now after economic rent, we come into the Ricardian theory of rent. It's a very important section. Generally it is a part which is made very necessary to understand what Ricardo has spoken about this rent, because Ricardo is someone who had actually initiated or have talked in a very structured and a very strategic manner regarding the incomes of the factor of production, because he was the first one, the pioneer, to work out with the factors of production's earning. And after this we get the wages theory, marginal productivity theory of wages, then we get from the interest the liquidity preference theory of interest by Keynes, and then we get the modern theory ISLM curve, that is ISLM curve to determine the rate of interest. And then in profit also we get risk theory, innovation theory, Schumpeter's theory. There are lots of theories which comes up in profit, in interest, in wages. But in rent, generally we do the Ricardian theory of rent to understand that the factors of production's earning taken as a separate branch, and its income was first been discussed by Ricardo in a very strategic and a very detailed manner in his theory of rent. So when Ricardo was talking about rent, he made it very clear. He made it very clear that the land is only applied for the production of corn, and he has also has considered that the law of diminishing marginal productivity. That is, if you go on utilizing the land, it will go on reducing its productivity. So this is also which he believed in his theory, and he has given two broad theory, what is called, when one is called scarcity rent theory and another one is called differential rent theory. So in the scarcity rent theory, it is something which he is telling that rent is perfectly inelastic, and the scarcity of that inelastic land is leading to the rent earning. So till the land is 100% totally been not utilized, the factor will not earn any rent. But once the land has been optimally utilized means used for production of corn, that is the constant assumption which he is carrying on. After that, if the demand for the corn goes on and the land is produced and it is carried on for more and more, then with the increase of the demand in this inelastic supply curve of land, the increased demand will push the the rent to higher and higher level. So that's why he calls it as a scarcity rent, which we can simply explain with a diagram, that this is the land which is O, SS dash is the inelastic supply of land. So he says that if demand is this much is your demand, this is your demand curve DD dash, and suppose OP is your demand, then there is no question of rent here, because your land is yet to be scarce and you have got a surplus land of PS, so there is no question of rent here. So now the question is, the demand of the corn goes on increasing and it shifts to D1, D double dash. Then also no rent, because you have got this much of surplus. But the point when it crosses here, it has been fully utilized, the land has been fully utilized, and still the demand of the corn has increased. Then the demand will be suppose shift to D double triple dash, and at this point of intersection of the demand and the supply curve, the rent will be determined, and further with the increase of the demand, the rent will go on increasing. So this is how it is called the scarcity rent by Ricardo in his theory, that how the land with the scarcity can increase the rent. Thank you.